So this is the F4.9. You all probably started it at the beginning of chapter 4, way before winter break, but I recommend that you start it over again if you have already. It's F4.9b. It's the additional practice for the study guide, for the summative. Please be aware of the fact that this should have been completed already, and all this is just a review. We actually worked on it in class Thursday and Friday of last week, and today you guys are just reviewing this, and then you are going to make sure you are prepared for tomorrow's test. First part asks you whether each equation is a linear equation. Write yes or no, and then write it in standard form. It's important for you to remember that an equation is linear if there is a constant rate of change. Also remember that standard form is when it's written in ax plus by is equal to c, and most importantly, a is positive, not a fraction. So if you get a fraction, you're going to have to do what we call, in class, we've called it destroy the denominator. So you multiply by the denominator to get rid of it. First one, is it is it a linear function? Yes, it is. The reason is because it's y equals mx plus b. So I know that it's standard. I know that it's linear. To write it in standard form, you're going to transform that y equals 2x minus 1. If you want to keep a positive, then your best bet would be to minus the y and add the 1. So we could start off by adding 1 to both sides. Y plus 1 is equal to 2x. And then you can go ahead and subtract subtract y. And you would get 1 equals 2x minus y, which in standard form would be 2x minus y is equal to 1. The next question. When I look at this, I try to see, first of all, what's the highest exponent is 1, right? On the x and the y, it's 1. I could put this in y equals mx plus b, very simple. I just move the 1/2 x and the 2, and then I get y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So it's in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b, so it is linear. And to change this into standard form, you are going to get the x and y together. So again, I recommend you keep a positive. So just subtract the 2. You're going to switch the c, the constant, the b, and the y. So you get y minus 2 is equal to 1/2 x. And then you're going to add 2 to both sides. Add y. I keep saying the wrong thing. I apologize. You're going to subtract y. So you would get negative 2 is equal to 1/2 x minus y. There's more than one way of doing this. You could have minus the 1/2 x, and then you would have had to multiply by a negative. But I'm trying to find the quickest way of doing it. In this case, I'm not properly in standard form because a is fraction. B is understood to be 1. So to get rid of that denominator of 2, you're going to multiply the entire equation. I'm going to rewrite it here again. I'm actually going to rewrite it in almost standard form. So I have ax plus, which is negative, by is equal to c. I just use the commutative property to move it around. And I realize that I'm not allowed to have a fraction is a. So to get rid of that, I'm going to multiply by 2 because that's going to get rid of that denominator. But whatever you do to 1, you have to do to all of the equation. So you would get 1x minus 2y is equal to negative 4. And that is in standard form. Number 3. Y equals 2x minus 3. Well, that's y equals mx plus b. So yes, this also is in standard form. I'm sorry, this is a linear function. So again, the question was, is it linear? That's what it's asking you. I'm sorry I keep saying it's standard form. It's asking whether it's linear. When you have your equation in slope-intercept form and you transform it into standard, again, I want to keep a positive just because it makes it easier. So I am going to add 3 to both sides. I get y plus 3 is equal to 2x. Then I'm going to subtract y to bring it over to the x part. And I get 3 is equal to 2x minus y, which is the same thing as 2x minus y is equal to 3. And that's ax plus by is equal to c. Number 4, notice that you have a power of 2. So hopefully you all remember power of 2 makes a u, not a line. So this is what we call quadratic. This is a quadratic, not linear. Because power of 2, and you could say something like this, makes a u, if you want to say those words, or more properly it would be, this is a quadratic, not linear. So you can't transform it into standard form because it's not linear. Next guy. When you first look at this, you don't know for sure if it is linear because you might think to yourself, well, there's denominators. However, I could destroy the denominators. So let's say I'm going to multiply everything by 4. And remember, the reason we do that is because a denominator is really division, and to undo division you multiply, and you undo the division of the denominator by multiplying by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4. This is going to just give you 1x. The 4's divide away, give you minus 3y equal negative 4. So yes, it's linear, and it's already in standard form once I do that. Number 6, ask you to find the x and y intercept. Recall from way back when that the x-intercept is the value of x when y is equal to 0. And the y-intercept is the value of y, and I apologize for the handwriting, when x equals 0. My Apple Pen is having a little bit of an issue keeping the pairing, so it comes in and out, and so it kind of like makes it terrible writing, so I apologize for that. In order to get the x and y intercept of this equation, I am going to simply go ahead and substitute 0 into x to get y-intercept and 0 into y to get the x-intercept. So, to get the x-intercept, I'm going to plug 0 in for y. So the x-intercept is, again, remember, it's a point. Intercepts are points. So you're going to have an x comma y answer. X-intercept, the value of x when y is equal to 0. Cancels out. Divide by 3. X is equal to negative 2. So the x value is negative 2. The y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. That cancels out. Divide by negative 2 on both sides. Y is equal to positive 3. So the intercept, the y-intercept is 3, meaning that the x-intercept is negative 2 comma 0, and the y-intercept is 0 comma 3. Okay, so that is your answer right there. This is the x-intercept. This is the y-intercept. Let's look at the other one. Graph by using the x and y intercepts. Again, when you're asked to graph by using intercepts, you're just plugging 0 in for the other value. So the x-intercept is going to be the value of x when y is 0. And notice it's written out of standard form. It's actually 3y minus x. So 3 times the value of y is 0 minus x equals 6. X-intercept, the value of x when y is 0. Remember? Do our math. You get negative x is equal to 6. Therefore, x is negative 6. So negative 6 is right here. That's my x-intercept. Now, to calculate the y-intercept, I am going to plug in 0 for x. 3y minus x, which is 0, is equal to 6. This cancels out. Divide by 3 on both sides, and you get that y is equal to 2. So I'm going to go to 2 on the y-axis. Now I'm going to connect the dots. It's supposed to be a perfectly straight line, but again, my pen is not very conducive to writing today. Excellent. X-intercept, 5x plus 3 times 0 equals 15. That just goes away. So you get divide by 5. X is equal to 3. That's my x-intercept. Y-intercept, value of y when x is 0. That goes away. Divide by 3 on both sides. You get that y is 5, so that means that my y-intercept is 5. Now I connect the dots, and that's the graph. Number 9, determine whether the function is linear, right linear or not linear. Well, in order to figure out if something is linear, there must be a constant rate of change, which is change of y over change of x. Change of y. From 1 to negative 1, I went down 2, because if you think about it, 1 goes down to 0, that's 1, and then to negative 1, that's another. From 0 to 2, I went down 2. So the first change of y is negative 2, and the first change of x is negative 2. Negative 2 over negative 2 is really the same thing as 1. That's the first rate of change. Now I go ahead and do the next rate of change. From negative 1 to 1, I went up 2. Think of it as going from negative 1 to 0 and then to 1. So you went up 2. From negative 2 to negative 4, you went down 2. So the second rate of change is positive 2 over negative 2, which gives you negative 1. Not the same. So it is not linear. Remember that if it had been the same, then it would be linear. Find the slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You guys should be pros at this now. 6 minus 8 over negative 4 minus 5. 6 minus 8 is negative 2. Negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9. That gives you positive 2/9. Number 11, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That gives you negative 7 over negative 4, which is really equal to positive 7/4, because two negatives divide to become a positive. Okay, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Hopefully you recognize what's going on here now. -7 over 0. When 0 is in the denominator, it's undefined. Think of it in terms of, if I showed you the visual of these 2 points, 8, 1 and 8, -6, you have a vertical line, and a vertical line has an undefined slope. Or 0 in the denominator, undefined. And there's a couple of ways of memorizing that. You could think of the fact that if you have a larger number on top and the 0 is smaller, it doesn't hold it. But sometimes that throws off because of the fact that if it's negative, it kind of throws you off. So you cannot divide by 0. You cannot divide by 0. Therefore, it's undefined. As opposed to this one, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Negative and a negative become a positive. That gives you 0 over -8. 0 is on top. That means the slope is equal to 0. And again, if I wanted to show you guys visually the reason to why it's 0, 6, -7 is here, and -2, -7 is there. And if I connected those dots, I would have a horizontal line. And a horizontal line has a slope of 0. Number 3, word problems. Remember to just read it first. In 2004, there were approximately 275 students in the Delaware High School Band. Okay, so I'm actually going to visually start showing you this so that we could see. I know I'm dealing with tables and values, and I know that 2004 is the independent. 2004, you had 275 students. In 2010, you had 305. What is the rate of change? Well, rate of change is slope. Change of y, you went up by 30. Change of x, you went up by 6. 30 over 6 is really the same as 5 over 1, which means that you're increasing 5 students. Remember, this is the y, so this is students. And this is the years, the number of years per year. Write an equation of the line with the given slope and y-intercept. So you're given slope and intercept. That means you use the slope-intercept form. Slope is m. Y-intercept is -3. Y equals mx plus b. That's -3. Then graph the line. Slope, so y-intercept of -3. Slope means you went up 2 and to the right 5. Connect your dots. Boom, you're done. Number 16 and number 17, write the equation in standard form. Okay, standard form, ax plus by equals c. The number 16 is currently in point slope, as is number 17. So if you guys remember, we're going to distribute, and we get y plus 6 is equal to -3x plus 12. Standard form means the x's and y's have to be together, so I'm actually going to bring this -ax over so that now I have 3x. It's understood that y is positive, so you write plus y. Plus 6, if you want to rewrite that, is equal to 12. And now you're going to minus 6 on both sides. And you get 3x plus y is equal to 6. Ax plus by equals c. Number 17. Distribute. So we're going to rewrite 2/5 x plus, oh no, 2/5 times 9. You guys have calculators at this point. But if you're going to do 2/5 times 9, you're going to get 18/5. It's okay. Leave it as 18/5. There's no reason for you to freak out about this. Still not in standard form. So I am going to actually bring the y over to the right so that I keep a positive. So I'm going to bring him over, and I'm going to bring him over this 18/5 over to the left. Again, you guys have calculators that we have been working with on learning how to use them. In Algebra 1, it's important for you to learn how to use your calculator. You're going to subtract 18/5. You're going to get y, and when you subtract 3 minus 18/5 on your calculator, you're going to press 3 minus, then you open up that ABC button. It looks either like it depends on what calculator you have, but it's the fraction button. And you do 18 over 5, and you get negative 3/5. Now you are going to bring that y to the right, minus y, and you're going to get, I'm going to flip it just to put the ax in front. 2/5 x minus y is equal to negative 3/5. And if you guys need Ms. DeMar to go over this a little slower, go ahead and pause the video and kind of go over it, this part. I'm not done yet because I can't have the denominator to be equal, I can't have a fraction as a. You can't have the fraction as a. So to get rid of that fraction, you multiply by the denominator of a, which is 5. You're going to multiply everything by 5. When you do that, you get 2x minus 5y is equal to negative 3. And you guys, if I remember correctly, you guys have been incredible with this, what we call destroying the denominator part. So I'm really proud of you. Keep staying focused. All right. 18 and 19. Write the point slope form of an equation of a line that passes through the point with the given slope. Point slope. Oh, you're given the point and you're given the slope. So you recall, and Mr. Slope Man's still up there for you guys to use. It's not going to go down. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That is the point slope formula. So, even though I ended up taking the x1, y1 part, you're going to do y minus y1 equals m times x minus, careful with your double negatives because it's minus negative 4, which becomes plus. They want it in point slope form. So that's all you do. You do not distribute. You do not put it in standard form. You leave it like this. And the reason we would leave it like this is because that way you can kind of extrapolate m, x1, and y1. Second one, y minus y1, which is negative 6, is equal to m times x minus x1, which is also negative 6. Both of those two double negatives become a plus, and you just leave it as y plus 6 equals negative 4/7 multiplied by x plus 6. That's it. Oy. There we go. Number 20. Write an equation of the line that passes through the given point, then graph the line. Okay, they're asking you for an equation of a line. They don't tell you how they want it. I want you to put it in point slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Those two become plus, and you got it. That's the equation. Now, if I asked you to put it in slope-intercept form, you would distribute the m and then bring the 4 over. If I asked you to put it in standard form, you would distribute and you would get ax plus by equals c. They're asking you just to write the equation of a line. So that's perfectly fine. When you graph it, you're going to begin at the point -3, -4. And you're going to follow your slope up 2, 3 over 1, up 1, 2, 3 over 1, up 1, 2, 3 over 1. I always do it all the way to the point where I get to the y-intercept, because then if I really wanted to put it in y equals mx plus b, I could just look at the new graph and I could be like, oh, y equals, my slope is 3, x, and look, I crossed the y-axis at 5, positive 5. So that's kind of like a shortcut. So either one of those would be correct. I would not mark you wrong, but you will have to graph it anyway. So next one. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I go to 0, 6, which is right here. The slope is -1/3, so you go down 1 to the right 3, down 1 to the right 3. Looking at it right now, they're giving you the y-intercept right there at 6. So y equals, the slope is -1/3, x, that's supposed to be a 3. Let me rewrite this. So this is the slope-intercept equation of that line, and this is the slope-intercept equation of the other line. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. Well, looking at them, hopefully you recall that those are both point-slope forms. So we're going to do what we just said a little while ago. In order to write it in slope-intercept form, we're going to distribute, and you get y plus 3 equals 3x minus 3. You subtract this 3 to bring it here, and you get y equals mx plus b. Working with fractions, oh no. Relax. Y equals 3/4 x minus 15/4. Now, I am going to put it in slope-intercept, so I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Don't worry about fractions with slope-intercept. Y equals 3/4 x, and then again, -15/4 plus 5. If you do it by hand, long way, 5 becomes 20/4, and -15/4 plus 20/4 is 5/4. But if you did it on the calculator, that's totally fine. Positive 5/4. So you have a y-intercept that's a fraction. So what? It's still a point. It's still a number. So you have it in y equals mx plus b. Don't get freaked out if you get fractions in part of your answers. Okay. Write an equation of the line that passes through the pairs of points. Well, they don't specify what kind of equation. You have 2 points. You should immediately know that with 2 points you can calculate the slope. So we're going to get the slope, and then you're going to have a point and slope, so you'll use point slope. The slope is -1 y2 minus -2 over x2 minus -5. Both of those two double negatives become positives. So it's -1 plus 2, which is 1, over 3 plus 5, which is 8. That's the slope. Now you use point slope. Pick a point. It doesn't matter which of those 2 points you want to use. Let's use the first one. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1 is negative 5. These become plus. There's my equation in point slope. If you needed to write it in standard form or in slope intercept, you would distribute. And then you would be able to change it around. So we're going to leave it like that because they just want an equation, and that's an equation. Second question, they want you to do the same thing. Let's get the slope first. y2 minus y1, which is really plus, over x2 minus x1. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. 7 minus 6 is 1. So your slope is negative 2. Equation, point, slope. Pick a point. Pick whichever 2 points. You could have written used a different point. And if you use the different point, it might look like it's a different equation, but once you distribute and put it in y equals mx plus b, you would have had the same exact equation. And we did go over something like this at one point. So I'm going to actually go through this one in that manner just to show you. If I'm using the first point, it's going to go y minus negative 1, so that's really y plus 1, is equal to m times x minus x2. They didn't specify how they wanted the equation, so you are welcome to leave it as point slope. If I would have done the other point, I would have said y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Now I want to show you how both of these equations, even though they look different, are actually the same equation. And that's the reason why it doesn't matter what point you choose. If I was to look at these two equations, so I'm going to move this over just so you could see it, so sorry about the weirdness. If I took the first equation and I distributed the negative 2, I would get y plus 1 equals negative 2x plus 12. I would then minus the 1 on both sides, and I would get y equals negative 2x plus 11. If you would have done the other point, the purple one, if you distributed those, you would get y plus 3 is equal to negative 2x minus 14. And if you subtracted 3 to both sides, you would also get y equals negative 2x, and that's plus, I apologize. Again, negative 2 times negative 7 is positive. And this gives you plus 11. So it gives you the same slope-intercept equation, because it's the same line. So either one, if you would have written with this point and plugged in point slope, or you would have chosen this point and plugged it into point slope, the red equation and the purple equation are both the same equations, as you could see, because they both give you the same exact slope-intercept equation once you simplify it. Number 26 and 27 are asking you to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So I have to make sure that I answer it in y equals mx plus b. For a line that passes through the given point and is, keyword, parallel to the graph of the equation. So they're telling me that the equation they're giving me, my new line, is parallel to it. So hopefully you remember, parallel lines have equal slopes. Perpendicular has opposite reciprocal. Well, the slope of the line I'm parallel to is negative 3/4. So my new line's slope is also negative 3/4. My point, my slope, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Two negatives become a plus. Distribute the negative 3/4, so you get y plus 1 is equal to negative 3/4 x plus 15/4 minus 1 minus 1. This should look familiar. Y equals negative 3/4 x. And when you subtract 1, it's really the same thing as 4/4. 15/4 minus 4/4 is positive 11/4. And it's okay to leave it with fractions because it's slope-intercept, not standard form. Number 27, they give you an equation that I am parallel to that happens to be in standard form. Hopefully, you all remember the shortcut. When it's in standard form, the slope is negative a over b. A is 5, so negative 5. B is negative 4, so the slope is 5/4 of this line. If I'm parallel to it, it means I am also 5/4. If you don't remember the shortcut, remember what I said to you guys on Monday. It's okay, and I've said it to you guys several days. You could just rewrite it in standard form, in a slope-intercept form. I'm going to minus 5x to both sides. I get negative 4y is equal to negative 5x plus 8. I'm just putting the mx in front. You're going to divide everything by negative 4. And you get y equals, this becomes a positive, 5/4 x minus 2. So now I can look at the slope, which is 5/4. I know I'm parallel, so I know that my slope is 5/4. Here's my point. Y, point slope, right? You're given a point, and you look at the slope, so you use point slope. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. These become a plus, so this is really y plus 3 is equal to, these become a plus. I'm going to distribute right away because I want it in slope-intercept form. 5/4 times 5 is positive 25/4. I'm going to subtract 3. And I'm going to get y equals m, which is 5/4 x. 25/4 minus 3, if you don't have a calculator, is the same thing as changing 3 to 12/4 because you need a common denominator. And 25 minus 12 is positive 13/4. And that's your equation. Last page. All right, guys, 3 more questions. Cindy started her bank account with $400. She deposited $50 per week. Remember, when you see stuff like per week or per hour, that is the same as saying 50x. Because every x multiplied by 50, and that's how much money. Write a linear equation in slope-intercept form to find the total amount of her account in W weeks. So the total amount is equal to the 400 she started with plus $50 multiplied by the number of weeks. That's your slope-intercept equation. Same thing as t equals 50w plus 400, which if it was y equals mx plus b, this would be the y, 50x plus b. They don't want y equals mx plus b in the terms of using the numbers or the letters, the variables y and x. They want you to use the variable w for week and t, or you could change whatever variable you want. You definitely want to use w for weeks because they tell you here. Okay. Write the slope-intercept. Okay, so once more, y equals mx plus b of a line that goes through this given point and is perpendicular. So hopefully you're thinking to yourself, oh, I remember if we're perpendicular or opposite and reciprocal. So, oh look, it's in standard form. The slope of this line is negative a over, well, b is negative 1, so the slope of that line is positive 2. Again, oh, I don't like to use a shortcut. That's fine. Rewrite it into y equals mx plus b. If I rewrote this equation in y equals mx plus b, I would minus 2x from both sides. I would get negative y equals negative 2x plus 4. Then I'd have to multiply everything by negative 1 because I can't have negative y. And I would get y equals 2x minus 4, where the slope is 2. If I'm perpendicular, my new slope is the opposite of 2, which is negative, and the reciprocal of 2 over 1 is 1 over 2. So my new slope is negative 1/2. Point slope. Y minus y1 is equal to the new slope, m times x minus x1. They want the equation in slope-intercept form, so you're going to have to distribute. Y minus 4 equals negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 multiplied by negative 4 is positive 2. Still not in standard form. I'm sorry, in slope-intercept form. So I add 4. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 6. This is the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the given and goes through 4, 4. Same type of question, different numbers. The slope of this line is easy to identify as negative 1/5. If I'm perpendicular, my new slope is the opposite of negative, so it's positive, reciprocal, 5 over 1, which is just plain old 5. This is my new slope, because I'm perpendicular. So my point, x1, y1, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. They want it in slope-intercept, so we're going to distribute. You get y minus 2 is equal to 5x minus 10. Add 2 to both sides. Y is equal to 5x minus 8. And that is the new equations. So, hopefully you guys feel comfortable enough with all of the reviews that we've done, with all of the study guides that you guys have had. If you guys have any questions, please email me. Good luck on your test, and I will see you guys next week.